Welcome to the Fundamental Guide for Taking and Making Notes. Brought to you by the Student Success Commons. Taking notes, and knowing how to use them, is an important part of academic success in college. Actively taking notes during class can help you focus and better understand the material discussed. After class, good notes are crucial for reviewing and studying, as you prepare for assignments and exams. Effective notes can also serve as a great resource for creating flashcards, an essential study tool for any student.
In this guide we'll discuss helpful note-taking materials, note-taking and making tips, 5 note-taking methods, digital versus handwritten notes, the pros and cons of each, and how to use notes to study, plus essential flashcard tips. Helpful materials. Highlighters in multiple colors. Notebooks.
Pencils. A pencil sharpener, or spare lead for mechanical pencils. Erasers. Pens. And index cards. Top 10 tips for taking and making notes. Don't try to write down everything. Even if you can capture information as fast as the teacher presents it, it's best to avoid this strategy. Research has shown that the most effective notes are not the ones that have been taken verbatim, and instead are the ones that are in the student's own words, when possible, and only focus on the main points. Don't waste time writing down information you already have. A lot of information is presented during class. Even if you wanted to capture all of it, which we know from the previous tip is not the best strategy, you would not likely have the time to make notes of all the material. You can save extra time by omitting information you have already noted, or that you know can be found in your textbook.
Don't worry too much about organization.
We'll look later at some great templates you can use to help keep your notes organized during and after class, but there are times when it's inevitable that forgotten information will get scrawled in the margins, or crossed out and rewritten. Don't fret about this during class. Just get the information on paper. Organizing, editing, and color-coding your notes happens when class is over. Abbreviate. Save time when taking notes by abbreviating. You can use the first few letters of a word, or you may decide to eliminate most vowels or shorten words. Do what makes sense to you. Just be aware that too many abbreviations has the potential to make your notes difficult to read and understand in the future. Don't bother abbreviating words that are already short, or new vocabulary words you'll need to study. Use symbols. Another great way to save time while making notes is to use symbols in place of common words or phrases. Use whatever combination of abbreviations and symbols works best for you. Just make sure to come up with a strategy before class. A glossary of your commonly used abbreviations can be kept at the front or back of your notebook. You can easily add new symbols and abbreviations and reference your list when you later review your notes. The following table contains a few examples of common symbols and abbreviations one might use for note-taking. Avoid highlighting or making notes while reading your textbook. Taking notes while reading tends to interrupt your flow and limits productivity. Wait to make notes from your textbook after you've finished reading the section, when you're sure you know which pieces of information are worth making note of. Write notes in your own words. Formulas and dates of interest typically ought to be written down exactly as they are presented. But any time you can make notes in your own words, do so. This will ensure you understand the information and enable you to better recall the material later. Don't overdo it. Keep your notes short and concise, focusing on the main points. Review your class notes. Rewrite and/or reorganize the information if needed. Some students keep a second notebook or a separate section of their binder for their class notes version 2. A rewriting of the notes they took in class to make sure the information is accurate, neat, and organized. Color code. Color coding your notes can help increase your attention and aid in memory retention. Tips for color coding notes. Color code after initial note-taking. It may be tempting to color code while making notes, but this can be counterproductive. Instead, wait to color code once you have finished taking down notes. This also serves as an aid to studying. Be consistent. Use the same colors throughout your notes. For example, you may decide to write all formulas in blue, all procedures in red, and all example problems in green. Consider keeping a key with your notes that clearly identifies what color is for what category. Limit your palette. If you use more than 4 colors, it may complicate your notes and make it confusing to look at and memorize. Use only a few contrasting colors to highlight text and make the important information stand out. Be particular. Use color coding only to highlight the most important pieces of information. If you highlight too much, you'll lose sight of the key facts. Now let's look at the 5 most common and effective methods for taking notes. We'll look at examples of the Cornell method, best for capturing key ideas. The outline method, best for creating review questions. The mapping method, best for visualizing connections. The charting method, best for studying many facts. The sentence method, best for taking simple notes. Please feel free to pause this video anytime to take a closer look at some of the examples provided. And remember to visit the Student Success Commons website for more great resources like these. Whether you choose one of these 5 note-taking methods, mix and match them, or use a technique all your own, try to keep these points in mind. Focus on the most important points. Notes should never be a transcript of every word said, but rather a summary of the most important information and questions. Review and revise. Notes will do you no good if they're filed and forgotten. Take the time to go over your notes so that you can remember what you learned. Revise or reorganize the information you gathered to further increase and refine your understanding of the material. Be organized and consistent. You'll notice that in each of the previous examples, the date and name of the class was always written in the bottom right-hand corner of the paper. Having a clear and consistent note-taking strategy makes it easier to stay organized and find the information you need when you need it. Be sure to adhere to whatever systems you put in place for your own notes. Digital versus handwritten notes. Which one is better? Many students have swapped out pencil and paper in favor of a computer or tablet for taking class notes. But before you ditch your notebook, consider the pros and cons of each method. Digital notes. The pros. Easy to read. Unaffected by handwriting. Easy to edit. Faster. The cons. Less likely to remember information. Allows passive note-taking, reducing comprehension and recall ability. Chance of technical issues. Ample distractions. Handwritten notes. The pros. Easier to create diagrams and illustrations. Improves comprehension and memory. Increases focus. The cons. Not as easy to edit. Taking notes digitally is generally easier, but studies have shown it hinders learning, understanding, and memory. Writing notes, whether on paper or on a device that supports handwriting, like a tablet and stylus, may take longer but has been shown to improve overall performance. Ultimately, whatever note-taking material you choose will depend on your needs and the tools at your disposal. Do what works best for you and helps you succeed in class. How to use your notes to study. And essential flashcard tips. Studies have shown that productive study sessions require much more than reading and rereading information. Instead of relying mainly on passive study strategies, aim to actively engage in the material. Some examples are given in the following table. Passive study strategies may take less time and feel easier, but if they're the only methods you use, they're ultimately more futile than fruitful. Active strategies are more effective and efficient, as they help you process the material in different ways, allowing for increased understanding and improved memory. When made and used properly, flashcards are one of the most effective tools for actively engaging in learning, understanding, and recalling information. Well-made flashcards promote active recall. Trying to remember information from scratch has been shown to create stronger neuron connections, making this strategy significantly more beneficial than simply rereading your notes or textbook several times. Encourage metacognition. Comparing your answer to the answer included on the flashcard and reflecting on how well you understood the information is a form of metacognition, awareness and understanding of one's own thought processes. It allows you to identify any weaknesses, create an appropriate study plan, and more accurately judge how well you know the material. The following 7 essential tips will help you make the most of your flashcards. Additionally, these tips can be applied to other studying techniques, and can serve to increase your overall class performance. Number 1. Make your own. There are plenty of apps and websites out there that will let you download pre-made flashcards and start studying instantly. But in most cases, you'll serve your brain better by creating your own. Making your own flashcards, especially when you present the information in your own words, creates strong neural pathways, enabling you to easily retrieve what you've learned in the future. When you use pre-made flashcards, you're skipping that entire process. Incorporate creating flashcards into your study routine, and be sure to incorporate the active study strategies provided earlier to make the most of your flashcard making process. Number 2. Mix pictures and words. A mixture of pictures and words works better in aiding retention and recall than either on its own. By including simple pictures with descriptive sentences or terms, you can increase your brain's ability to recall what you're studying. The pictures you create for your flashcards don't need to be masterpieces. You don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time and energy adding images to your flashcards. A simple scribble that helps you personally understand and remember the information can be just as good, if not better, than a full-color, highly detailed illustration. Any pictures you use in your notes and flashcards are for you and you alone, so don't worry if they're appealing, or even understandable, for anyone else. Number 3. Make connections. Connecting new information to existing knowledge, and using mnemonic devices, can drastically increase your ability to recall information. Some common mnemonics are acronyms. An acronym is an abbreviation formed from the initial letters of other words, and pronounced as a word. For example, PEMDAS is an acronym used to help math students remember the order of operations: parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Acrostics. An acrostic takes the first letter of each item you want to remember and uses those letters to make a new, memorable word or phrase. For example, the word raven can help you to remember when to use effect or effect. Remember, effect is a verb and effect is a noun. Another well-known acrostic is, "My very excellent mother just served us nachos." This phrase helps you remember the order of the full-sized planets in the Solar System: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Rhymes. How many song lyrics can you remember? Probably a lot. Rhymes are often easy to remember because they can be stored by acoustic encoding in our brains. For example, I before E, except after C, or when sounding like A, like neighbor and way, is a commonly used rhyme for remembering a spelling guideline. Imagery and visualization. Think about how many signs, symbols, and logos you can identify in a split second. Our brains typically remember images much more easily than written words, so translating things you want to remember into mental images can be a great memory aid. For example, to remember the symbol and atomic number for the element neon, you might imagine a neon sign with the number 10. Number 4. One at a time. Only write one piece of information per flashcard. Our brains are really good at recognizing things we've seen before, which can lead to a false sense of understanding. Including more than one fact or formula on a flashcard increases your chances of mistaking recognition for recall. Instead, limiting each flashcard to only one point will ensure that you can not only recognize, but also recall each point without extra context clues, a skill you will need during a test. Number 5. Break it down. Some concepts or ideas are too complex to be summarized in one question. In keeping with the previous tip, these kinds of concepts will need to be broken apart, and each piece given its own flashcard. For example, take a flashcard that asks, "What are the names of all the satellites currently known in our solar system?" Although this is just one question, assessing the accuracy of your answer would be difficult as there are over 150 answers. Instead, this topic can be broken down into several smaller questions. You can use subheadings and paragraph content from your textbook as a guide as to how large ideas can be broken down. Number 6. Speak up. Studies have shown that reading aloud as you study increases your ability to remember and recall information, improves your focus and attention span, and helps build understanding and comprehension. So when creating and studying your notes and flashcards, read the information aloud to cash in on these benefits. Number 7. Mix it up. When you're studying your flashcards, be sure to regularly shuffle the order of the cards. Also, make sure you review them from both sides. Doing so will help build strong neural pathways that can be traced easily in both directions. In addition to mixing up the order in which you study your flashcards, try to space out your study sessions. Research has shown that spending 5 hours studying in one day is less effective than studying just 1 hour daily over the course of 5 days. Keeping these 7 tips in mind will help you create the most effective flashcards that can help you study for any class. In addition to creating flashcards, other useful study techniques include: write explanations and summaries for each important concept in your own words. Create your own quiz. Take a practice test from your textbook or online resources. Review previous class assignments, and rework any questions you initially struggled with. Watch instructional videos. Remember, several of the flashcard tips, such as employing mnemonic devices and breaking down large concepts, can be applied to many other study strategies to make them even more effective. Whether you create your own flashcards or apply the given tips to another study strategy, keep the following key points in mind. Do more than just reread information. Actively engage in the material whenever you can, and make connections to help the information stick. Space out your study sessions. Plan to study several times a week to help create lasting neural connections to the material and deepen comprehension. Practice active recall. Be sure to test your ability to recall information without referencing class material, as well as several days after you first learned it to make sure it has really stuck. Sleep on it. Sleep is crucial for brain function, memory formation, and learning. When you sleep, your brain stores and reorganizes information. Studying a little bit before you sleep, by reviewing flashcards or notes, can help improve your ability to recall the information. Note-taking is an art that takes time and discipline, but the benefits of well-made notes stretch far and wide. Continue to practice and utilize the information provided in this video, and you will soon see your note-taking skills improve. We hope you enjoyed this guide to note-taking. Be sure to visit the Student Success Commons website from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Here you can find information on available tutoring services, resources for several classes, as well as tools and techniques for college success skills, such as time management, problem solving, and managing test anxiety.